Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the channel, Caring Connections with Faith. I am Faith. I happen to be the Faith in this Caring Connections part. And I am hoping that we are working on building a community of people, not just me, but a community of people that are here for each other. Life is stressful, life is difficult, everyone has lots going on. But what if we could just take a second and be here for other people, right? Instead of always being so focused on ourselves and our own problems, what if we could just take a few minutes and be willing to be available to someone else who might be hurting just as much as you are? Or maybe you've come through a really hard time and you have something you feel you can share with others who are going through something hard. So either way, this is the place that we're trying to do that. And so I have been doing a live stream every Tuesday and Friday. And because our channel is itty bitty and we have so few subscribers right now because we're in the process of building, the live streams have become very difficult because my phone is very old. It needs to be replaced. And that is not in the budget at the moment. And so it's been overheating when I'm trying to do live streams using Streamlabs and different software. If we could get to 50 subscribers, then I think I can use YouTube Studio right from my phone, which may not cause overheating and may streamline the process quite a bit. But we're not there yet, which is fine. So for now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to transfer away from a live stream. I would love, 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 love to have a live stream where we interact, where people show up and we chat together. That's my main goal, is to have a live stream and people can talk their things through in a caring and loving environment. So that's where we're headed. But to get there is going to take time, and I understand that. So for now, what I've decided to do instead is switch away from a live streaming idea and go to a pre-recorded. I'm still going to talk about stuff that's happening in my life, things that I think are relevant to the general population. And that brings us to today's topic, which is going to be 27 things people say when they're coping instead of saying what they really want to say. So this is an article that's written by Derek Hart, and I will post a link to his website. Derek Hart is a counselor and a relationship expert. He has been doing this for over 30 years, and he writes amazing articles. I've talked about him and read his articles on the channel before. And I think this is really, really helpful. Normally, Derek talks about this in the context of a couple relationship, but I think these are so valuable that they can be relevant in any kind of relationship. I know that my 14-year-old and I often struggle with communication, and we often struggle with feeling hurt with each other, and that has been a big part of my weekend, actually. And so this is very relevant to me, and trying to say exactly what I'm feeling instead of hiding behind other things, and being loving and kind while I say it. So it's something that I am working on personally, and I thought I would just share it, and then you can take what you will from it. Hopefully you'll find something helpful here. So here is what we're going to do. I'm going to read you the article in its entirety. And then if anything pops out to you while you're listening, maybe you would leave us a comment and we can open up a discussion about it and see where it leads. And other people's opinions are super helpful too. So here we go. We're going to read his article, 27 things people say when they're coping instead of saying what they really want to say. So Derek writes, most couples don't lose each other because they have nothing vulnerable to say. They lose each other because vulnerability gets translated into protection before it even leaves the mouth. The longing comes out as criticism. These are really super important. The longing comes out as criticism. The hurt comes out as indifference. The wish to be understood comes out as an explanation. Those are three humongous things, right? And we have this deep longing inside of us, this deep thing, but in the getting it out, because we're afraid, and normally all of this is because of fear, because we're afraid, the way it comes out of our mouth doesn't sit well with the person on the other side of the conversation. And that's where problems start to happen. Because we're not willing and we're afraid to be completely vulnerable, then we have miscommunication that happens, and breakdown of communication, and really hurt feelings and breakdown of relationships. So let's go over those three things again, just so that we have them clear. All right? The longing comes out as criticism. Fear comes out as anger. The hurt comes out as indifference. A wish to be understood comes out as explanation. Derek writes, oh, the tractor's going to come right here and be super loud. Sorry. We're at the beach, obviously. Anyway, so Derek writes, suddenly two people who desperately want to reach each other are having an argument instead that neither one of them actually wants to be having. So sometimes it's important to listen to what's being said underneath. So we're going to go through some of these again, and he's going to give us an example of what might be happening underneath the surface of the comment, okay? So number one, you never listen to me. And that might really be the longing is, please let me matter to you right now. Number two, I don't care anymore. Might be, I care so much that I don't know what to do with how much this hurts me. Number three, whatever. I have a teenager, and whatever is one of those ones. And you know that's not what they're thinking, and yet it's hard to know what's underneath the surface sometimes. Whatever can be translated as that deep longing. I don't think I can keep trying to explain myself and survive feeling misunderstood again. Okay? Number four, you're impossible to talk to. And see how we as humans tend to over-exaggerate, and we go to the extreme that creates that like all or nothing kind of feeling, and then the other person shuts down. So you're impossible to talk to really might mean I don't know how to reach you. 5, why do I have to tell you everything? Might really mean I just want you to notice me without having to beg to be noticed. How about number 6? Nothing I do is ever good enough for you. I've heard that one. Maybe it means I want to know that you can still see good in me. Right? A call for value. Number 7, you're overreacting. Might really mean your feelings are getting big and I'm scared. I won't know what to do with them. How about 8, calm down? How often do we hear that? really what they might be saying is, I'm getting overwhelmed and I don't know how to stay connected to you while this is happening. How about 9? I was only trying to help. Instead, the longing would be, please don't see me as someone who wanted to hurt you. Right? That's the longing, the vulnerability part underneath. I didn't mean it to hurt you. How about number 10? That's not what happened. Really means, I'm afraid that if your version is true, I become a bad person. Wow, right? That's deep and heavy. Number 11. Well, that's not what I meant. Might really mean, please know my heart before you judge my mistake. Number 12. You always make everything about you. Might really mean, is there room for my pain too here? Number 13. Fine, I won't say anything anymore. Again, going to that extreme in a conversation. Might really mean, I don't know how to speak without making this worse. And I find myself there a lot, especially with my daughter, because being a teenager, she is all about being right in a situation. And so oftentimes, like I'll say, well, we talked about this earlier, that came up last night. And she's like, no, we didn't. And then what do, right? Now we have two people seeing something very, very, very differently, and yet both people wanting to be validated. And so a lot of times in those moments, and to be honest with you, I felt super frustrated, super overwhelmed. I was started to have a panic attack, and I had to just say, I'm really sorry that I can't talk about this right now. I'm struggling, and we're going to have to pick this up later. And sometimes I just say, you're right, and I just shut down on her. And that's not a good communication technique either, right? Okay, so how about number 14? Leave me alone. I need the intensity to stop, but I don't want to lose you. 15. Why are you always criticizing me? Might mean, I really need to know that you still like me. I often said that to my partner, that, I really wondered, do you even like me anymore? Anyway, 16, you obviously don't care. Might really mean, please show me that I still matter. 17, I shouldn't have to ask you. Might really mean, I want to feel known by you. 18, you're just like your mother or your father, right? I think that in my head often, and I don't say it out loud, but what the issue might be behind there, something is happening between us that I have felt before, and it scares me. In my previous marriage, there was a lot of times when there wasn't room for me to be right. And so if I remembered something a different way, or I thought something a different way, then that there wasn't room for that in our relationship. And so a lot of times I started to kind of feel almost a little bit insane, like that I couldn't possibly be right because that's what I was told again and again. No, you're not right. That's not how it is. And it was with such a surety and such a absolute truth to it that there was no room for me to be right. There was no room for me to have another kind of opinion. And I feel that a lot of times with my daughter, that it's happening again, and I feel like I'm getting sucked into a bog. Anyway, number 19, forget it. Might really mean, I wanted you to understand without me having to expose how much I needed you. Yikes. How about the age-old, I'm fine? might really mean I'm not ready to show you what's really happening inside of me right now. Number 21, you're too sensitive, might really mean I'm afraid you're hurt means that I have done something terrible. Because it's hard to sit with our own failures. It's hard to sit with our own selves when we feel like we've messed up. It takes a very strong, mature person to look at your faults and be comfortable enough to analyze that and look at honestly at something. How about number 22? Can we not do this right now? Might really mean I don't have enough inside me right now to be able to do this well. Maybe there's fear there, right? Maybe there's overwhelm. That's what I had to say last night. I just had to say it like that. Not can we not do this, but right now inside of me, I am starting to panic and I am starting to not be able to cope with the continued conversation. Number 23, all you ever want to do is fight. Might really mean I miss feeling safe with you. Have you ever felt like that? I have many times. How about 24? You only think about yourself. Might really mean I want to feel considered too. 25, why can't you just admit you're wrong? Might really mean I need some sign that you understand what this was like for me. A little understanding goes a long way. That's why if you can stop and say, I hear you saying this right now. I understand that this must be really difficult for you. Those kind of empathetic statements go a long way in communication. It doesn't mean you agree. It just means that you're trying to meet them where they're at in a conversation. How about 26? I'm done. Sometimes this really does mean I'm done. And then you have to honor that. But sometimes it means I simply can't keep hurting like this. And Derek Hart says, and maybe one of the most important ones, number 27, you don't love me. Often underneath that sentence is something much more frightening to say. I love you, and right now I can't feel you loving me back. How many times have I been too afraid to say that, right? Not just with a partner, not just with my daughter, sometimes with my parents, sometimes with my sister, sometimes with friends. Right? He says that's the part that couples so often miss. We listen to the coping and we respond to the coping. We defend against any accusation. We correct facts. We explain our intention. We point out the exaggerations. We prove that never isn't actually never, and always isn't actually always. And we might be completely right, Derek says. But being technically right doesn't create repair. You know that saying? You can be right or you can be happy. And that is so true. What does it really matter who is right and who is wrong? The point is that someone is feeling something, and surely we can be decent enough human beings to try and figure out what that is, and not worry so much about being right in the moment, right? underneath the sentence, we're arguing with, there is often another sentence, a softer one, a scarier one, a sentence that sounds much more like, do I matter to you? Can you see me? Are you still here, present in the moment with me? Do you understand why this hurt? Can I need you without losing you? Am I safe showing you how much I care about this or about you? These are the conversations that are hiding in so many arguments. I'm reading. And learning to hear that conversation, that undercurrent, can change everything. So that's Derek Hart's article. And I think it's so true. And in a moment of conversation that gets heated, it's so easy to just get triggered. And, we might have legitimate things that trigger us. We all have stuff. We all have baggage. But it's not the person's fault that does the talking if you're triggered. Yes, there should be consideration. If you know there are subjects that are very difficult for someone, you should broach gently, with gentleness, compassion, kindness, and it's not up to you to keep them from being triggered. The other person who is getting triggered has the responsibility to deal with what's triggering them, right? That is not your job to micromanage people. It is your job to speak your truth in love, kindly, gently, with humility, with openness. But it is not your job to keep someone from being triggered. That is their job. If they know that something triggers them, that is on them to work on. And if someone has asked you, please, can we just take a break from this topic? Right? I know that there are times that come up, especially with my daughter, where something's been a truth, a half-truth, maybe not even a truth, has been presented to her by someone else. And when that truth gets thrown in my face, well, I was told that you la. And I know for a fact that that is not true, or she does not have the whole story, but the story that she does have is shaping her opinion of me. Man, how often do I get triggered and want to be defensive and want to be like, I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you believe that about me. So what's a better way to handle that in the moment? Because really, I can't change her opinion of me. And I know who I am. I know why I did things in the past. Right or wrong, I have had to come to terms with that. And I just want her to know more than anything how much I love her. And sometimes that gets lost in hurt and in fear, and it doesn't get communicated the way that I really want to. And that's not just with my daughter. That's with lots of people in my life that it can happen. So sometimes we just really need to take a step back and think, what is really underneath this that's going on right now? Because I learned, I think I've mentioned this before, I learned in a marriage seminar a long time ago, underneath everything, there is only love or fear. Everything that is said is coming from either one of those places. someone is being ruled by love in that moment, or they're being ruled by fear. And if you can find the fear there, then a lot of times it makes it much easier not to take offense, not get defensive, but be sympathetic and empathetic and helpful in a conversation rather than making it worse. That's been my experience anyway. So Derek Hart had 27 statements. Which one do you say the most? Which one do you hear the most that you hate? And that maybe you can look at a different way now and be like, wow, that person really is just asking me to love them differently. Let me know. I would really, really love it if you would chime in and let me know your thoughts on this whole thing, because, man, how many times, if we could do this in conversations, how much hurt could it save? How much love could we put in the world, and understanding, and people, it would change people's day to be understood in a moment. And then maybe when they leave in the morning, instead of having had an argument with you, then they go to school or to work or out into the world feeling great and being able to pass that on to other people. I talk about being the ripple all the time. And this is one way that we can be that ripple out in the world. So that's what I have for today. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think this is a bunch of malarkey. Okay, but I'd love to hear from you. Let's continue to build this channel. And if you have someone that you think would benefit from the channel, please, 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 if you could share it, send it to them, and maybe they can subscribe. Like I said, if we can get to 50 subscribers, that would make all the difference in the way that I'm able to continue to post content on the channel. So, lots of love to you all. The wind is picking up here. Hopefully it's not getting caught on the camera, but I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Until Friday, I will talk to you again next time. Take good care of each other and yourselves. Bye for now.